Is Craig Wright Satoshi Nakamoto? There's been a lot of talk about this recently. If you've been paying attention to the news in the blockchain world, I just had a great conversation with one of my friends in blockchain and crypto. His name is Soul Swami on Twitter. He runs a fantastic cryptocurrency group. We meet in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho on Saturdays. If you want to look us up, just go to Meetup. You'll find a group there. It's the only one going on in Coeur d'Alene. You're welcome to join us at any time. Unfortunately, we do not have an online version of this group, so you'd have to actually physically be in the area. But if you are, go ahead and stop by. Now, this is not financial advice. Don't take financial advice from two people talking on YouTube. Do your own research. All right, Scott, thanks for joining me on this channel in this interview. I wanted to show the people on there watching something popped up in our meetup group, and that is, let me pull this up right here. I think you can see this. This is a post that someone put in our group, and it caused a little bit of controversy. The part I wanted to show is the highlighted part down here at the bottom. Craig Wright, who is widely known as the pseudonymous creator of Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto. So I don't think that's exactly accurate that he is widely recognized as the creator.
He's widely known as the person who claims to be the creator because he
So,
has multiple lawsuits going and he's working really hard at trying to prove that he is without proving that he is.
so do you think he's the creator of it? Do you think he is Satoshi?
No, no,
Is
I'm
it
pretty
is it
convinced.
because
There's no connection between him and the original Bitcoin devs. There's no direct connection between him and uh, the people who founded it in the time frame that it was founded. So you don't see Craig Wright's name coming in it for at least 5 years after the creation of Bitcoin. So if he was intimately involved in the beginning, there should be a trail that goes farther back, and there isn't.
have you read any of the stuff recently that people keep trying to say that that original wallet keep is maybe getting touched or maybe it's getting some movement? Has that happened? Has there been any movement on that wallet, that Satoshi wallet?
So my understanding is there has been no movement in any of the original wallets. There's several wallets at the very beginning that were created, and those original wallets are all mining wallets, and you're most likely because somebody created a miner, they had to have a wallet to store in. So those were the first ones that got created. There's been no movement in those. There's a claim going around that says that Craig Wright can sign a transaction, and he has signed a transaction. And this is not an accurate claim. People are saying that what he did was he reused an earlier sign of a wallet for a transaction. So he recreated the transaction in order to show that it could be signed. That doesn't prove that he can sign an original transaction. Okay. So there are a lot of things. The problem with Craig Wright's claims are that he can't definitively prove that he is, and he's continuing to try to prove that he is for personal gain. If he really was, he doesn't need any personal gain. He can cash in a few Bitcoin and go sit on the beach. I mean, this is the reality is that if you founded Bitcoin, you have access to the wallets, you have access to millions, you can pay the taxes, you can go somewhere and sip a pina colada and not have to work again. And so why would you want to go around trying to claim it? What's the advantage to being publicly known as Satoshi? You're going to be publicly known as Satoshi as soon as you clear that wallet out and use that cash to buy yourself a super yacht. I mean,
Why do you think is
it
why is
doesn't
he
make any
doing
sense why he fights for it.
why is he going
So
for it? I mean, you see this lawsuit.
so what he started something a long time ago, and then he started getting sued about it. Okay, so let's see, just the people who were around at the beginning of Bitcoin, some of these people are dead now. So people like Dave Kleiman and Hal Finney, they're gone, and they can't refute anything that he says. So when he says that he was working with Dave Kleiman and that he was part of the original process, there's no proof that he is, and there's no Dave Kleiman to deny it. So in the end, what happened was that Kleiman's estate sued him and said that he took the goods from the beginning and didn't split them fairly with Dave, and so that the estate was owed. And he actually got judged against by a court that didn't even say that he said it didn't have to prove that he was Satoshi. It proved that he owed the money. And so they gave a, I think it was $100 million judgment, something like this. It was a huge number. Okay. And the judge said in that case that he didn't have to prove that he was Satoshi, and that he didn't prove that he was Satoshi. So every time he keeps trying to say that he's Satoshi, it's like a backward way. He went and he filed with the Patent and Trademark Office, the Bitcoin white paper and Bitcoin as a trademark in 2019, 10 years plus after Bitcoin was released. And when they issued to him some kind of paperwork, he said, "Look, this proves that a federal agency is saying that I'm a Satoshi." And the patent office turned around and said, "No, no, no, no. That's not what we said. We don't make a claim about whether the person who makes the claim here is the pseudonymous personality. We only know that you're the claimant." So, and this has happened to him over and over and over again. Every time that he tries to go, "Oh, look, I'm Satoshi," somebody comes back and says, "I didn't say that, and you didn't prove that." And so this has been going on for more than 9 years. We're in 2024, so more than 8 years that he's been trying to push around to people and say he's Satoshi. Well, what does he get from that? Potentially, what he could get is he could bully people into having to pay him off for using Bitcoin, right? He's trying to claim ownership in some way. This is a challenge to the ethos of open source code in the first place. It's a challenge to where people are at in terms of cryptocurrencies. It's not supposed to be like this. It's not supposed to be a pay to play game. That's what the stock market is. You want to get real wealthy and play games with the big boys, you go to the stock market, or you buy a sports team, I guess. I don't know. I'm not a wealthy guy like that. But the reality is that there's no really good reason to claim to be Satoshi unless you're trying to use that as leverage against somebody else. And I think he's kind of stuck with it because he's already gotten rulings against him in some place in the world saying that he owes a bunch of money because he is. So now he has to figure out how to prove that he is. But even when he first came out, he didn't say he was Satoshi. He they did so there was a news article or a couple of news articles where people were digging around looking for Satoshi about, man, I don't know if this is 2013, 2014, something on that time frame. And they came out and they said, kind of looks like this guy might be him, but he sure wants to be him. And Satoshi didn't want anybody to know who he was. And in my opinion, that was a group, by the way, and not a single person. It's 3 to 5 people, in my opinion, and those people, at least some of those people, are dead now for sure, and the rest of them have a reason to want to remain anonymous. I mean, it
So
was easy enough to leave that wallet behind and make money in something else. So why go and touch it? And
So you think it's a group? You know, I like the argument, and I know it's probably not true that Elon Musk would be Satoshi. He likes the language C plus, which what Bitcoin was originally programmed in C plus. He has a reason not to touch an original wallet because he's wealthy and doesn't need the money. But I know it's just kind of cool to think it's Elon. So you definitely think it was a group of people. You don't think it was one person.
yeah, I think that it's the outgrowth of conversations that were had between people who were cryptographic experts or aficionados or both, and that they recognized that there was weakness in the economic systems, the way that they were built. And they said, "What can we do to create something?" And their expertise was cryptography, so why not make a cryptographic solution? It just makes sense. And when you're talking about a very small community like that, there that is also intimately related to things like defense, because cryptography is related to military intelligence, to secret communications, all those kind of, there's political intrigue that goes with it too. So they were going to be somewhat politically savvy, and they're going to recognize that threatening the economic system is threatening your life. You poke a stick at the really rich guys and they get threatened, you're gonna disappear. That's just the way the world works, and most people understood that, from the beginning. So my thought is they made a pact, and they said, "We'll do this, but we're not gonna let anybody know who we are, and we're gonna obfuscate this by making a fake plan, a whole fake story." And, it could be that that's not how it played out, but they didn't want to be found. The bottom line was they didn't want to be found. So they kept their names a secret. They used pseudonyms. They made the whole system where you didn't have to be identified. They created a way where nobody could get at it but you. And they did all that because why? Because they were trusting in their their current social structure? No. Because they were trusting their government? No. They did it because they wanted to have absolute control over that resource. And so it tells you something about the mindset of it, whether it was
Hmm.
one or more than one. And more than one person makes more sense because more people means the idea gets more vetting, more testing, more work through, more think through. Your different perspective than mine when we talk about something, you're going to say, "Well, what about this?" And I'm going to be like, "Oh, I didn't think about that. That's important, and that's going to improve the process." And Bitcoin was pretty well formed when it was released. It didn't change all that much over the first couple of years. There were changes, yeah, but they were more like bug fix type things, not fundamental changes in the structure of how it's supposed to work. So they had worked out a lot of details like how to secure the cryptograph from frame to frame, from block to block, right? How to ensure that the wallets were kept safe, and so that you wouldn't be able to spend my money even by mistake. There you have to go to a location that's tied to a wallet address. The wallet address is tied to a passphrase, and if you don't have all the pieces in play, you don't move the asset.
So you don't think we'll ever find out? You think their intent is to stay anonymous, and we'll always wonder who Satoshi was, right?
Yeah, I think if it gets found out, it's going to be something weird like the diary of one of the three founders or whatever was found, and there's day-to-day things where they detail, I spoke with, Joe, and Joe spoke with Carrie, and Carrie wrote the code. Unless there's something like that that comes out, I don't think we find it. I don't
Yeah.
think they wanted to be found, and so I don't think they're not the ones who actually did it aren't the ones that are standing up, and Craig is standing up, and that tells me Craig's not it. I'm not looking to get sued, make your own decision, but if he could sign a transaction on an original wallet, he would solve all of this and all this court case stuff will go away. And if he
That
owed
makes
some $100 million to a court because he didn't give enough Bitcoin to somebody, well, he's got the Bitcoin. So why not make all that go away and go and get your Mai Tai or your pina colada or whatever and go relax? I mean, I don't understand. It doesn't make
that's
sense. So there's
that
something
makes
behind
yeah,
that.
yeah,
There's
yeah,
something different that he's doing, because he's got a different motive.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Make your troubles go away by just signing that wallet transaction and it's over. And he would be proven. Makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, if I was the judge or I was the opposition in the court, I would point it out pretty plainly that you can make all of this nonsense go away. And
Yeah.
all you have to do is prove it by signing. And if you're original and you're not, then go and get one of the original devs to come to court and say you're the one. None of the Bitcoin devs will say he's the one. You know, there's original Bitcoin devs around. They're not talking about him and they're not supporting him.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I don't know. I have my doubts. Let's
Yeah.
put it that way.
So you said a little bit ago that there weren't big changes to Bitcoin back then. Then there were big changes when there was the Bitcoin forking. So I wanted to get into that. What is BSV and how did it come about? What's BSV?
Well, Bitcoin Satoshi Vision is another Craig Wright invention, actually. Craig Wright generated a company called Chain, which is a blockchain company, and he and Chain and somebody else. I was just looking at that actually. Let me see if I can put my fingers on their name. Anyway, they put together Bitcoin SV during the blockchain size wars. So the block size wars were about whether or not you would increase the size of a block in order to handle more transactions in the same period of time. And had been changes when it went to Bitcoin Cash, and Bitcoin Cash was a hard fork out of Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin SV forked out of Bitcoin Cash. And so what they were trying to do is go back to the original protocol, but open up the block size to be variable such that they could handle higher transaction volumes. Um, the the Bitcoin SV is still proof of work. It's still, the Bitcoin core is all basically the same as the original. But what they've done is they basically locked it. And so they want the protocol to remain stable and reliable so that people that are involved in the process aren't worried about forks, hard or soft. So there's some stuff in there for SV to be fork resistant. Okay. But Bitcoin SV doesn't have the same kind of traction and doesn't have the same kind of following as Bitcoin. And that shows in the price. Uh,
Right, right, for
it's
sure.
it's a newer fork. I'm not sure exactly when it's forked, but it's not the original, right? People
Right.
like the original. When the original Pokemon, they like the original Pokemon. So, the follow-on games that are anime and stuff like that, they have value and they have um, street credibility and all that, but they don't have the same value. They don't have the same high esteem that number one or the leader or the first market mover always has.